I'm a journalist out of Lagos, Nigeria. Apologize for coming in just a bit late, but this is the Tab Report. And I think you know why it's the Tab Report, but this is my weekly, occasional, hopefully more than weekly conversation on the HAPS platform, talking to you about stories that are big and important out of Nigeria. So today, I'm continuing a conversation that I started earlier this week because of how important it is in Nigeria. And earlier this week, I had a conversation with three colleagues about the End SARS protests. And SARS is an organization here in Nigeria that are part of the police, a division of the police, and they stand for Special Anti-Robbery Squad. But in the past few years, they've become more of a menace to the society than they have been people who are meant to serve and protect. So I need to continue that conversation because young Nigerians are on the streets. They've been on the streets since yesterday and even slightly the day before, protesting and demanding an end to SARS and demanding that the government of Nigeria address them and tell them the way forward. So to have this conversation, I have two guests with me who are going to get into this with me. My first guest today, I have Reginald Basti. Reginald is the co-founder and director of business for Watchman Systems Limited. So he's a security expert, a security tech expert, and he's going to bring that perspective to this conversation. I also have with me, joining me, I have Nasir Afolabi Agbalaya. He is a journalist, content creator, trained paramedic. He's also a tech enthusiast and a chronic volunteer. So I hope to get into the conversation as much as possible. Please don't forget that you can ask all the questions you want to ask, make the comments you want to make. Let's have this conversation about what's going on in Nigeria and why young Nigerians are currently on the streets of around at least, I think it'll be about 10 cities. They were on the streets of at least 10 cities today protesting the activities of SARS. So let me start with you, Reginald. And I think the very first question I'll have is, this is not the first time SARS has trended. The End SARS hashtag is probably 4, if not 5 years old. It's been around for a while. It trends off and on. It goes up and down. But government seems to pay lip service more than anything else to the notion of really getting SARS officers off the streets. Why do you think it seems that throughout the years, throughout the atrocities, throughout the victimization that we've seen, Nigeria's government has not adequately gotten a handle on SARS and police brutality as well? Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. Okay, so Nasir, Reginald said it's symptomatic of what is wrong with Nigeria, the dysfunction that unfortunately is the country, a lack of political will, and of course vested interest. But beyond that, because there are allegations that it's not just the officers on the streets, that there is a whole racket that is making millions of naira every single week. It may be every single month from the extortion of young Nigerians. And it's not simply just the officers on the street, that this goes up the leadership of the police. In regards to that and a lack of political will to address this issue, what do you think?
I agree with Reginald. The problem is not just about the men on the street. The leadership of the police force itself truly needs to be overhauled. It might sound a bit far-fetched because now it's not as if you need to go outside the country to get people. Yes, there are individuals who are in the police force who could actually do what needs to be done, reform it. But unfortunately, these individuals are not high up to make policies that will affect the conduct of how policing is being done in Nigeria.
Mm,
Unfortunately, those in power are mostly stooges of the politicians. So they, with the politicians, they have a well thought out script which they execute daily across the public called Nigeria. So for the real change to truly occur, now this morally upright and religious individuals need to be in place, and they need to be the political will, like Reginald said, for anything meaningful to occur. SARS in itself might be a means to an end, but truly it is the reform of the whole policing of Nigeria that is
mm.
essential. And even to start off with, the welfare of these men and women.
Don't get ahead of me. Don't get ahead of me. That part of the conversation is coming up about what true structural reform looks like. So what I would say is I have a few people that I want us to take their comments. I think I'm getting some feedback. If anybody has their mic on or speaker, it's really quite loud. And I have a few comments I want us to take from individuals involved in the police force. So let's hear from Frank Imba. He's the police force public relations officer. And this is what he said today. So that's Frank Imba, who's the police public relations officer, speaking. I'm not sure if it was today, but either between yesterday and today on a national TV program addressing it. And he said that the people who are protesting are most likely beneficiaries. They are those who benefit from the proceeds of crime, who whatever are involved. Let's hear from the former IG of police in regards to the calls to end SARS. Then I'll get to the next question. So, how do we address that, Reginald? You heard from former IG of police who says that those calling for the end of SARS are criminally minded. We heard from the current public relations officer who's saying those who are calling for the end of SARS are those who are benefiting from those who are involved in crime and getting probably the proceeds of crime. This is the mindset that the Nigerian police is telling us when it comes to Nigerians reacting to extortion, police brutality, torture, killings even. What does this tell you about the mindset of the police in regards to this issue? Reginald? Mm, mhm. Yes. Mm, Okay, and you can see some of the visuals I have now. Today, those who protested in Abuja, they had tear gas fired at them, and the protests have largely been very peaceful from the end of Nigerians. Across the country today, we've heard reports that police have been picking up youth, tear gas has been used. We've heard that shots have even been fired. And there is the fundamental right of every Nigerian to protest. The Supreme Court, it is in our constitution. The Supreme Court has time and time again said Nigerians do not need to go to the police to get permission to protest. But Nigerian police would like to tell you, come and tell us. You need our permission. You need our protection. But here are Nigerians protesting the behavior of their men, and they're still being attacked. Nasir, when you look at things like this, when you see what happened in Abuja and you see protests across the country, what concerns you the most about the lack of movement, not even just speed, but actually even movement in terms of addressing this issue?
Unfortunately, we see the leadership of Nigeria right now have forgotten how this country was formed. You know, a number of protests led to Nigeria becoming an entity called Nigeria. I mean, a legal entity from the other masters. Although those systemized protests from the traditional leaders, the tribal political class, then they protested and they wrote formally, and they had what was their agenda then satisfied
Mm.
as independence. Now, looking at on 60 years down the line, Nigerian youth are now using that same right which the founding fathers used to demand change in the country. But unfortunately, the leadership seems to have fallen asleep on the job. That's what it is. That's the way it is right now. Because every individual, most nations of the world have the right to protest. I repeat, most nations of the world, the it's a God-given right that if something is happening that you do not feel it is right, you don't believe that this should be the way it is, it's your right to complain so that or you can get redress. But unfortunately, the way it is right now, you complain, yeah, you get punished. Lawful protest, peaceful protest across the nation is not hijacked, it's being undermined. First, the police
Mm.
asks you to get permission for you to complain about an injustice that is happening from the police. How is that right? What is the moral justification for the
Mm.
police to ask it? Insofar as the organizers have maintained and ensured that it is peaceful, people are just carrying placards, singing. Fine, yes, some of the songs they are singing is a bit uncalled for, but it is still their right. It is the right which they have that they are actually using. There is no vandalism happening. Nothing immoral is happening. Nothing against the law is happening. So far as no law has been broken, there is no reason for them to disperse and use these tactics. Tear gas, people could die. Someone who have asthma or any other ailment could die from being tear gassed. Now, this is wrong. It's unfortunate that the judicial system, the law system is not, say, fully coming to bear here. This individual has the right to even sue the police force. But, it is Nigeria, it is what it is. Many
Mm.
people's rights are trampled upon daily, every time. Even if you by chance get a lawyer or an individual to find an investigation, it gets quashed because the cases are adjourned almost indefinitely. Justice is never ever served. At the
Mhm.
end of the day, it looks as if yes, no average Nigerian cannot seek justice. That is one of the reasons why this is happening. Because if you go to
Okay.
the courts, you'll be frustrated. So the youth are now taking it upon themselves to demand justice. But unfortunately, our elected officials are again sleeping on the job.
Okay. And I like the fact that he ends with saying they're sleeping on the job. If you've watched the trend of the trending hashtags as it may be over the course of several years, you would have seen that eventually there's going to be a breaking point. And in the past few weeks, with social media being a very pivotal event, a pivotal platform from young Nigerians to air their grievances and to let people know about these issues, you could have seen this storm gathering. So, Reginald, I have to ask you, as a security expert, this is something many laymen, as we like to say in Nigeria, saw coming. Is it that the Nigerian government did not see this coming, did not see that there was going to be a point in time where the Nigerian youth were going to rise up on this issue, or they simply just chose to ignore it because they think that there's nothing that can be done? Um, isn't there intelligence gathering? Aren't there times where they're trying to, take the pulse of the people, or whatever it may be? How did they not see this coming? Or did they? Mm, hmm, hmm, mm, mm. Yeah. Hmm. Mm. I find that really interesting, and I really do believe also that the movement gives us the opportunity to do so. And you talk about sustained movements, and I'm going to put you a bit on the spot here, Reginald, because I see some of the gray hair that is in your beard. So let me put you on the spot a bit. Some of the tweets that we've also been seeing today have been young Nigerians saying they're telling their parents that they're going out for these protests, and their parents are telling them, "What protest?" That's one. Two, we've also seen people, and I spent a lot of time on radio, and I've heard some of the complaints today as well, that people will say, if you dress better, if you are respectable to the police when the police approach you, if you don't have dreadlocks, if you don't have tattoos, if you pull up your jeans, that those are reasons why the police are entitled to profile young Nigerians, be they male or female, even though primarily on this NSARS issue, the target seems to be young male Nigerians. Do you think there's a generational misunderstanding of how serious the SARS issue is? Do you think older Nigerians truly understand the kind of danger that young Nigerians are in on a daily basis when they step out of their doors? Mm, Yeah. Or the other. Okay, so I want to take a comment, or I guess a video. There's one of the young women who was out at the protest yesterday in Lagos at the capital, Alausa. That's where the seat of power in Lagos is. And at the point where they came out, there were still lights. And this is an area of Lagos usually that has 24-hour electricity. But it was said that the police removed their canopies, the police removed their chairs, and that the lights were actually turned off. But we did eventually get, I think, the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly to address them. But they also had a few things to say. So I want us to play that now. So they slept on the floor, and I do like to say that I know a number of people who contributed today. Money was donated from young Nigerians across the board to be able to feed some of these individuals today who slept. First aid kits have been given. There have been donations, so it's looking like we are in for the long haul, and we hope to be in for the long haul. But when you see young Nigerians out there doing this, and you remember some of the comments, and I guess maybe the feelings around young Nigerians, lazy Nigerian youth, or Nigerian youth are only involved in scams. So when you see young Nigerians literally putting their lives on the line, how do you feel about that? Especially when some of the response is very lackadaisical. The governor of Lagos has not addressed those who are protesting in front of his office. The president of Nigeria has not made any statements. In fact, the Twitter handle for the president of Nigeria is still tweeting his daily activities. Meanwhile, there are protests ongoing in several cities across the country. What do you think about that? Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. Mhm. But do you think the IG of police should even still have a job at this point in time? Should he still be in that position right now? Mm, yeah. Hmm. Do you I'm very, this is a sore point for me because this morning I was having this conversation and the question keeps coming up on Twitter and I've tweeted it myself. Why does this seem like the hill that the Nigerian government is willing to die on? Why is this SARS division of the police so intractable to the Nigerian government that no regard for citizens, no punishment most of the time for these actions, no statements are coming out? Why does this seem to be the hill that this administration, led by Muhammadu Buhari, seems to be willing to say, you know what, do your worst, Nigerians? This one, it stays like this. What do you think about that? Because it buggers my mind. This is a very easy way to score political points. Hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yes. Okay. So I just want to acknowledge the people who've joined us. We can see you, Mark Goldman, Mary Ann, Brett. Thank you so much for joining us. We also have Bartek joining us as well. The ham is boiled. I guess that's your name. But let me just go to Sonia Torres, who's saying hello from Puerto Rico, and she's saying she's asking what is the situation in Nigeria. So in Nigeria currently there is a movement. I will no longer call it a protest, but there is a movement being led by the young people because they've been affected by police brutality, particularly coming through a special division of the police called SARS. So this has been on for many many years, but in the recent days it has boiled over. So young Nigerians are on the streets across many cities across the country, and they're protesting. They're demanding that the federal government disband the special anti-robbery squad and reform the police. So that's just a quick bit of the nutshell. Nasir is back with us. I know there are a few issues in getting you back, but I'm happy to have you back. So let's talk a bit more about what it looks like to reform. But before we get that, Amnesty International has documented at least 82 cases of torture, abuse, and unlawful execution that were carried out by the Special Anti-Robbery Squad in Nigeria between January 2017 and May 2020. And many people are very sure that number is not even the tip of the iceberg. The cases include hangings, torture chambers, hostages, and extortion. One of the SARS station is also known as the Abattoir because people go in and they rarely ever come out. Repeatedly, Nigerian authorities have failed to end the atrocities of SARS, and it's hardly surprising because, according to Amnesty International, they believe many of these officers bribed their way into SARS in the first place, and that the police chiefs in charge are themselves entwined in corruption. Corruption is a very common word we throw around a lot in Nigeria. What does it look like in terms of structurally reforming SARS? Is it even possible? So let me start with Nasir. He's back now. Nasir, is it end SARS or reform SARS for you? Do they still have a place in security architecture in Nigeria?
Sincerely, they do have a place because for the criminal elements in Nigeria, the fear of SARS is the beginning of wisdom. But unfortunately, this has now transcended from the criminals to even the innocent. Profiling is a common thing. If you dress this way, you get arrested or get molested or get extorted. Now, you mentioned something about it is end SARS or reform SARS. Reform SARS is the logical thing as a long-standing thing that could truly work. But for this to actually be long-standing, it has to be a total reform, a total overhaul of the police architecture from the top to the bottom. Now, this is a Herculean task, literally, because you need to identify those individuals who truly believe that they are serving the people. They believe that the oath they took when they put on the uniform is not to enrich themselves or to victimize the public. This is something that cannot come about easily. You need to train and retrain. You need to believe that yes, they are public servants. Believe it and actually go out to enforce the law. Now, that being said, motivation is something which over the years have been really dwindling. They are, from what I gather, they are the least paid of all security forces in Nigeria. This has to be looked into. The welfare system that they are entitled to is also abysmal. From what I learned, when they get injured, even on active duty, they take care of themselves. That is wrong.
Mm,
That
mm.
is entirely wrong. The welfare package of the Nigerian police force is as if non-existent. It shouldn't be like that. And apart from that, there is no sense of pride in wearing the police uniform. There are many individuals in Nigeria who, if you say you want to become a policeman, you look at them, are you really? Do you, I mean, policeman? I mean, you're a thief. That means you have no ambition. It shouldn't be like that. It should be something which you have pride in doing. My great grandfather was a volunteer force. It was a thing of pride. It is right now, even your family members who hold a family meeting say, no, we cannot do this. Every logical or spiritual, as we do in Nigeria, will be employed that the person did not join.
Mm.
All these except for the fact that those who are wearing the uniform now do not say exude say things which
Pride.
own thank you pride. So
Mm.
most Nigerians believe that only those who have no other option join the police force. So
Okay.
it has to be a mental change. Society has to see them differently, and that can only happen when those in power put policies in place that people can respect them and they also respect those whom they are serving.
Who they serve. Okay. Okay. So, Reginald, the same question to you. Is it reform SARS for you or is it end SARS for you? Because right now it went from end SARS to end SARS now. The hashtag now trending is end SARS immediately. And it seems that protesters or Nigerians who are protesting for their rights and their safety have drawn a hard line in the sand with the government and they said they don't want to hear reform. It is end that division now. What is it for you? Mm, hmm, hmm. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
People
Mm-hmm.
agitate, they have the right to do that, they can say
Mm-hmm.
everything. But the point is, look at the substance of the agitation and take action on that. Exactly. Find the people comes with a lot of training. People agitate, they have the right to do that, they can say everything. But the point is, look.
Mm, 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 Mm. Okay. I want to play the video of the father who recently lost his son. And from there, I want to go to what the IG of police has said should have been done. So the statement from the IG of police came out. The next morning, Nigerians were still reporting seeing SARS officers on the road, still extorting police. We'll get into the breakdown of that. But let's hear from this father who lost his son at the hand of SARS officers.
Dual audio. Dual audio. I think so. Either your phone or Marianne. Could be Marianne.
So that's a father whose son was recently killed, allegedly by SARS officers during some kind of police checkpoint or whatever you want to call it. And it's difficult to realize that this story is replicated almost on a weekly basis in Nigeria. I can hear some feedback somewhere. Can SARS officers during some kind of have somebody turn that off? We can hear the feedback, whatever you want to call it. And it's difficult to realize that this story is replicated. I'm not sure where it's coming from, so I apologize for that. Nigeria. I can hear some feedback somewhere. Can SARS officers during some kind of have somebody turn the feedback is not coming from me. There's somebody watching somewhere around us, and that's where the feedback is coming from. So I apologize to those who are watching. But so, as I was saying, we're looking at reforms, the structural reforms for the Nigerian police. What does that mean? How does it look like? Do you think these protests are going to be sustained, Reginald? I know earlier, I'm not sure if it was you or Nasir who said we don't really have such a we have a history, but this generation doesn't have so much practice, I would say, of being on the front lines and protesting. Do you think that they can stay out for as long as it needs for this to get to the desired end?
We have a history, but this generation doesn't have so much practice, I would say, of being on the front lines and protesting. Do you think that they can stay out for as long as it needs for this to get to the desired end?
Look, it remains to see. Let me actually just speak to the man who lost his son. That's very painful. My heart is family. I come from a Buddhist family. My granduncle, my granduncle, the present inspector general, but my grandmother, who was the brother of was shot by police. So, in fact, she had major issues for the rest of her life.
Yes.
Issues. So it's something I understand. Just look at the response of the man. He says, I know God will have it. You see, you can say that when he's lost in the system.
Yes.
And that's where the problem is. You've got to make sure that this system delivers justice. If people had faith in the system that gives them justice, they won't be out in the street because they know that we just have to charge this officer. But now, of course, when you cannot charge this, you cannot bring a case against this individual. You are going to be bringing against the police as an institution. Is trying to pass this institution around so each person becomes an authentic liable for that offense. So there's a challenge with that already. So for those fundamental issues, the justice system itself has given Nigeria forward. So it remains to be seen how long we can sustain it. The generation that we are in, they are easily distracted. I can tell you, the wheel of another story doesn't need to blow. Unless somebody just say, hey, customs, corruption, and headline news. The attention, including you guys in the media, for something that is fresh, breaking, and we pursue that. So I'm hoping that But honestly, I'm not giving people who have been agitating for this for years.
Yeah.
People like social media, who have done a lot of work in the movement. Moving from social campaign on social media, but now it's on the street. But it may not be on the street forever, but it needs to remain on that issue. There's something in the news. I want to see campaigns from
Okay,
media.
so let's look at what the Inspector General of Police offered Nigerians when it really got hot last week, and apparently some of it obviously is not being taken seriously. And that's another thing we have to talk about. The Inspector General of Police will make a statement, there'll be public announcements, there'll be press releases, Nigerians will hear it, but on the streets when the men in black and blue, whatever colors their uniforms are, will tell you that he's sitting in Abuja, that he should come from Abuja and tell them these statements. But let's hear what he had to say. So what we know is that he had banned FSARS, that's Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad, and other police tactical squads from their routine patrols. So they also had arrested two operatives. They said that we're going to ban the Special Tactical Force, the Anti-Cultism Squad, and other tactical squads from operating in federal, zonal, and command levels. They were banned from carrying out routine patrols and other conventional low-risk duties, which were stop and search duties, checkpoints, mounting of roadblocks, traffic checks with immediate effect. In addition, no personnel of the force is authorized to embark on patrols or tactical assignments in mufti, and mufti is just not wearing uniform. They must always appear in their police uniforms or approved tactical gear, and the directive was against the backdrop of the findings of the police that there were few personnel that were doing the wrong thing. So we see these statements time and time again. In the past 4 years, I believe it is, 4 times the Nigerian police has said they will reform SARS, they will change them. Amnesty International has had 3 reports in probably the past 5 to 6 years detailing the atrocities of SARS, and yet here we are in October 2020, and this is an issue that we still are addressing. What do you think it's going to take for men of SARS and men of the police and whatever squad it is to hear the orders of the IG and get off the roads? No more roadblocks, no more checkpoints, no low-risk duties, as it may be, no stop and search, which they do and asking young men and women to show them their phone. They look for certain words in your Google browser. They look to see how much you have in your account. That is all illegal. What will it take for the IG's directive to be followed by the police officers on the road? Nasir, what do you think?
Women to show them their phone. They look for certain words in your Google browser. They look to see how much you have in your account. That is all illegal. What will it take for the IG's directive to be followed by the
Nasir, we're having some feedback issues from your end. I don't know if you can adjust that. I'm hearing my question back to me myself. Let's see if you can adjust that. But Reginald, take that on while we see if he can work out the technical issues. What do you think it's going to take? Nigerian police officers will tell you that the IG of police is in Abuja. If he wants to tell them what to do, he should come and meet them.
You can adjust that. I'm hearing my question back to me myself. Let's see if you can adjust that. But we're going to take that on while we